Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this narration of the series Humans Don't Make Good Familiars. If you're new to the series, there is a playlist listed down below. With this chapter, we are caught up with current, and we'll wait for about 20 more chapters to go before we come back to it. So, look forward to that. Part 28. Suma's Point of View. As the magic circle faded, Jake slowly appeared. He was laying on the ground and breathing very heavily. Due to our connection, Jake has the ability to sense my desires, and sometimes even my emotions. But that is normally a one-way ability. However, there has been a few exceptions during extreme circumstances. Despite that, I've grown rather skilled in my ability to decipher how he is feeling. I could not tell why, but Jake was clearly distressed. He looked around the room and summoned his armor and one of his weapons, then once called Mori and Igus. "Suma, what's going on?" he asked. His voice was ragged, and his breathing had not yet slowed down.
"Private Suma, get control of your familiar this instant, or we will use lethal force,"
one of the guards surrounding the Queen demanded. Their familiars had already encircled Her Majesty, and were in threatening postures.
"Jake, calm down. This is the capital, and these are the members of the royal court. It is time for our meeting with them. Do you remember?"
I said, trying to calm him down. "Private Suma," one of the guards yelled. Jake looked around for a moment, and then lowered his weapons. In a flash of light, they disappeared from his hands, as did the armor from his body. Sorry. I'm sorry," Jake said. He seemed shaken, the same way he did the day the Vyram attacked him. The royal mages around the Queen settled their familiars, but they all kept careful watch over Jake for the rest of the meeting. The room was tense, but the questioning from the council of the royal court continued.
"We were informed that your familiar was capable of speech. It seems this was true, Private Suma. We take it that this is the familiar known as Sentinel, the one capable of chaos magic."
"He is?" "I am," Jake said. He had not yet looked directly at the council, only glanced towards, but had not yet turned and faced them completely after walking to my side.
"Sentinel, this court has several questions for you, some of which are regarding your unique magical attribute. While answering these questions, you will be truthful, not withholding any necessary information, and you will not cast any more spells without direct permission. Do you understand?"
The court member asked. "I do," Jake said, now sounding calmer, but I could still tell that he was distressed.
"With the court's permission, I would like to take a moment to speak with my familiar," I asked. "For what purpose?"
When he arrived, he was clearly distressed. I wished to make sure that he was ready to answer the court's questions. One by one, the members of the royal court's eyes began to glow faintly.
"Agreed. You have 3 minutes.
The court members said. I thanked the court, and Jake and I were escorted out of the room and into the corridor. With us came Captain Rozoan.
"Private Suma, what happened in there? Why did your familiar react like that?"
the captain asked. "Jake, are you okay?" I'm fine.
"Then explain your actions," the captain demanded.
"I overreacted. I'm sorry."
"Jake, I apologize for not alerting you before I summoned you. I did try, but I could not get into contact with you."
"No, it's fine. I was asleep. I was, seeing one of Zachariah's memories." When Jake said that, he seemed to be in pain, or extremely uneasy at the least.
"Was it important?" I asked.
"No. Maybe. I don't." Jake was cut off by the captain.
"I do not understand what the two of you are talking about, and do not care to. But what do I care about is this. Are you able to control yourself in the court's questions?"
"Yes."
"Jake,
I'll be fine." Jake still looked unnerved, but I accepted it for the time being, and we re-entered the courtroom. We took our places once more, and Jake continued to stand next to me.
"Are you ready to begin the questions?" the court member asked.
"We are," I said.
"Sentinel, explain to us where you are from."
"I'm from a country called England. My planet is called Earth. I was born and raised in the city of Manchester."
"How long have you been the familiar of Private Suma?"
"Approximately 2 years. Although we met years before that." Jake spent several minutes explaining the original circumstances of our meeting, making sure to leave out my inability or unwillingness to cast any sort of mental domination rite or ritual on him.
"It seems the two of you have quite the unusual history. Moving on to your abilities, we request that you demonstrate your magical attributes, specifically your death magic. Bring out the test subject," the court member said, and a large piece of icky fruit was brought in. When he said that, I immediately felt cold, and my stomach turned. "I'm sorry. My deepest apologies to the royal court, but I will not now, nor will I ever, use my death magic," Jake denied. And why not? The court member asked, sounding both surprised and annoyed. Because I've seen what it can do. I never want to see it again. We must also deny your request, one of the Queen's royal mages announced. It would mean far too great a risk for Her Majesty's safety. Ah, yes, I suppose that well-being of the Queen Emperor is something the court failed to consider. Our deepest apologies, Your Highness. The Queen nodded once, but did not speak. Sentinel, our records indicate that your specific attribute is a rare inversion, correct? Yes. Then, with the Queen's permission, we would like you to demonstrate that, and we would hold the discussion of your death magic for a later date. We are still uncomfortable with... The guards around the Queen tried to protest once again, but they were stopped. Hold. The Queen, for the first time, spoke. I, too, wish to see this ability. I grant you my permission. The guard who protested looked annoyed, but kept silent. Sentinel, please demonstrate to us your inversion abilities, the court member asked. May I ask, how? Jake said. In a manner that poses no threat to the court or the Queen. I'm afraid my experience with my attribute is lacking, Jake said, trying to sound formal. He was answering the court's questions the same way he spoke to the Major, or any other of our commanding officers. While I've used it in the past, I've never taken the time to experiment with all of its potential options. You have not mastered your own attribute, the court member sounded confused. I could understand why. To any normal mage, the mastery of your attribute was the most basic step in learning magic. Jake, however, had not taken the standard path when cultivating his abilities. Sentinel's inversion abilities seem to take effect on other spells, rites, and rituals, not necessarily his own, I interjected. I could summon, Jake started to say, but the royal mages did not let him finish. No, one of them said. I could invert a spell one of you cast, he said hesitantly. The royal mages looked at one another and spoke quietly amongst themselves. Agreed. The one that denied Jake earlier, a few flew closer. If I cast a spell that produces flame, what will happen to it? In the past, rather than a flame being hot, it'll be cold. It'll still look like a flame, though, Jake said. The mage nodded and produced a flame. Jake then shrouded the flame by himself in a small cloud of mana and kept it there. Throw it at me, Jake said, surprising the mage. After a moment, the mage nodded and launched the flame at Jake. Jake flinched but did not move, and the fire impacted his body. Once the spell dispersed, everyone saw that Jake was unharmed. Jake crossed his arms and shivered. Then a cloud of mana around him dissipated as well. Impressive, the mage said. When I looked back at the royal court, I saw that all their eyes were once again glowing. After the glow disappeared, the court member said, Private Summa Sentinel, this court wishes to offer you a position working for the royal court. May my familiar and I have a moment to talk about your offer? I quickly asked. This court will issue your recess for a period of 1 day. We will reconvene tomorrow at noon. We await your decision. With that, we were escorted out of the courtroom and out to the castle itself as well. Oh, that's not good, Captain Rizoan said. I know. They give me the creeps, Jake said. You cannot accept their offer, Captain said. I agree, Jake. I think you did the right thing denying their request for their demonstration of death magic. After what happened with that noble, I do not blame you for never wanting to use it again. When I said that, the pain returned to Jake's expression. Summa, I need to tell you about the memory I saw. This is starting to feel like a conversation I do not want any part of. I will give you two some privacy, the captain said, and flew away. After he did, Jake spent the next few minutes explaining the horrors he experienced in Zachariah's memory. End of chapter.
I would quickly like to thank the T5 channel members and Patreons. Caspar Arnholtz, Cam Maxwell, Lord Azrakal, It's Difficult to Pronounce, Dragzoon WRE, Holly's Sister, Arcadian. Thank you very much.